Hi everyone, welcome back in a new project where we're going to be building a full stack task manager application. So before I show you the demo of the application, I want to mention that we're going to be using Typescript, shadcn, React, Tailwind Css, and also we're going to be using D&D Kit because one of the features that I added in the application is the drag and drop feature. But also we're going to be using heavily this website called Bolstack, which is a product or a project of mine where I'm providing reusable components not only for landing pages but also for dashboards, and we're going to rely on this heavily to save a lot of time to build the project a lot faster. And also another quick heads up, this project is not for everyone, so you need to have a little bit of experience with TypeScript and React because it's not a beginner friendly project. So let's begin showing you the application. So this is the landing page. As you can see, it's pretty neat, clean, and professional. So we have this navbar, but also we have this beautiful hero section. So also we are showing the image of the application. So this is the application, as I'm going to show you once we are in. And also we have the features section. We have the testimonials section. So we are just using fake testimonials. And finally, we have the footer section. And all of these are, each section is a component. So these components, I took them from this website called Bolstav, which is going to be a time saver. And every time that I build components for projects, I save them in this platform to save a lot of time for future projects. And also another thing that I didn't mention, we're going to use NextAuth since it's a full stack application. We're going to use Drizzle for the ORM to connect with the Neon database, which is a SQL database. So also we have the dark mode and the light mode since we're using shadcn, so which is a normal thing now. So now let's log in to the account. So you can create a new account if you want to. So I already created an account. So this is the login page, and this component you can get it from bolstack.dev, as I'm going to show you on the project when we are building it. So you can access or create an account via email address or password, or just click on Google to connect with your Google account. So I'm gonna use mine, which is my main Google account, and then we're gonna access to the dashboard. So this is the dashboard, as you can see. So first of all, we're going to start from the top. Here we have, as I showed you, the light and the dark mode. And also we have this drop down like shortcuts if you want to make all or mark all the tasks as completed. So when I click on it, so as you can see, all the tasks are completed. If I want to make them all in progress, so they are all in progress. If you want to delete all the tasks, which I'm not going to do right now, just to show you some of the core features that we're going to be building from this in this application. And also another thing that I didn't mention, so this application is live using Vercel. So also we're going to be learning how to deploy this application. And finally, we have this drop down to log out if you want to. And also another thing that if you realize, so every time, so any interaction, as you can see, we're going to have a skeleton, but also we're going to have a loading spinner. So we're going to use React Toast notification that allows you this, because every time that you are sending a request, there is a delay to get a response, and you want to show something to the user when you are engineering your UX your UX in any application, because that's going to show you not only that you know what you're doing, but also you are building in a professional way your application. So now we're going to start from adding a new task. So here we have this dialog. So also Another thing that we are going to be learning is using Zod and React check form. So I click on new task. So we need to provide the task title before we are gonna before we can be able to create a new task. And all of these are going to be by default. So finally, I click on a new task and notice here, as you can see, we have a loading spinner and also in the button and in the notification waiting for the response from the database. So this task has been created successfully. And also another thing, so let me put this as a light mode. Also, you can copy the task if you want to. So if I click on this, as you can see, it's going to be copied. And if I click on the check, so as you can see, we have the loading spinner. So each operation, we have a feedback to the user, which is something that you need to do in when you are engineering any component in React, because it's going to show you that you know what you're doing. And also you can edit the task, whether you can click on the title or click on here. So I can update the task here and click on edit. So we have the same response in our UX, and notice that the application has in the completed section. And also another thing that if you if you observed it, we have categorized the tasks in progress and completed to make things organized. And also we can filter by the priority or by the status if you want to, and the search also is working. And if you want to reset all the features, that just click on the reset all button. And finally, we have some numbers at the top. And finally, you can delete all the tasks if you want to by clicking on here, or you can delete by a single task by clicking on this button. And also we're going to have this dialog warning you before you delete the task. So I'm going to click on delete. So as you can see, the task has been deleted successfully. And if I click on delete all tasks, so all the tasks has been deleted successfully, and we're going to have this placeholder. And notice that all the elements are going to be disabled because we don't have any tasks yet. So these are going to be enabled once we created our first task. And finally, you can log in by clicking on the logout button, and you are gonna get back to the login page. So this is the application that we're gonna be building. So even though that it looks a bit easy and simplistic, but it took me quite a while to build this project. So if you are interested and excited about building this project, stick with me till the end of this video. All right, now we're gonna start building our project. And again, our starting point, it's gonna be full stack, because a lot of service that I'm providing in this application is generating an Next.js boilerplate project. So if we click on this button from the landing page, so this is another landing page for this particular service where we have Next.js, shadcn, Typescript, Drizzle, NextAuth, custom fonts, and Neon database, Google Auth, GitHub Auth, React, and Tailwind Css. So as you can see, all of those things I put them in a Next.js project to save you a lot of time rather than setting up this every time when I build a project, and all of this is provided for free. So let's click on the start building. So here we're going to be headed toward this stepper. So the first step, we need to provide the project name and the description. So these information are going to be saved in the layout.jsx. So I'm going to call the project task pulse, and notice here we have a little preview of what's going on. And here I'm going to create or add a simple project description. This is a task manager application. So once you're happy with the information, also you can choose the icons, as you can see. So click on next, and the next step is for customizing, sorry, your project. So these are going to be saved inside the global.css. So I'm going to leave these as they are. The only thing that I'm going to be changing is the pop-in fonts. And also, you can choose the color that you want. So I'm going to choose this one, the blue color, for as we did for the application that I showed you in the demo part. So click on next, and finally we have an overview of all the settings and the configuration that we choose before we generate our project. So click on generate, and our project has been generated successfully. So I'm going to open it up with WinRAR. And here I'm gonna extract the project and go to my documents folder. Here, I'm gonna choose this folder. I'm gonna create a new file or folder where I'm gonna put all the file or all the files of the project. Click OK, and then uh, I'm gonna go to VS Code. So let me create or add or create a new window, and I'm going to open up the project that we just added, task polls. So this is the project has been opened up in VS Code. So let me close this project. So it was the source code of the ballstack.dev project. So now what I'm going to do, all I have to do is just open up a new terminal and type in npm install to be able to install all the packages that are in the package.json. So it's going to take a while, and I'll be back after the installation has been finished. So all the packages have been installed successfully. So now all I have to do is just type in npm run div to run our server. And now I'm gonna go back to Google and create or open up a new tab and type in localhost 3000 to access to the application. So it's going to take a while to compile the project and do other compilation like the middleware, for example, because we're using NextAuth, as I said. So if we go back to the to local 3000, so this is a simple landing page that I'm providing with Next.js boilerplate generator. So meaning that everything that is working. So we have a small issue here because we need to provide the information in the .env file for the authentication. So if we go back to our project here inside the in the env.example, so we need to make it as .env to make it available for Next.js. So these we're going to fill in next in in the project to make sure that our authentication is working well. And also we need to add our database URL that we're going to take from the Neon database website. So as you can see, everything is working fine. And so now we're going to start building our project. So after we successfully generated or created our Next.js project, so the next step that we're going to be doing is to build our landing page. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, so we're going to rely heavily on this website called ballstack.dev. So if we go to the blogs page, as you can see, those are all the components in sections organized in sections. So we have the landing page and the dashboard, the authentication. So we're gonna use some of the components in here from this section as we did in the finished project just to save a lot of time. So let's begin by doing this. So here first we have this navbar, which is a component. So the component, so we're gonna reuse the components that is provided in the project, and the component is the navbar2 component. So so what I'm gonna do first, I'm gonna change the name and also the icon of our project. I'm gonna get rid from this part, and also I'm going to change the name of the buttons. So the first thing that I'm going to do inside the components folder, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it app logo .tsx. And to save some time, I'm going to just copy the code, and here I'm going to change only the name of the application. So clear task was the name of the project that I showed you in the demo. So let's save the component. And this component, so I put this in a different component, or a separate component, sorry, because this we're going to be it's going to be reused in the dashboard section. So here we have the icon, and also here we have the name inside a div. So I'm not going to get into details like how things are working. So that's why I pointed out in at the beginning of the video, you need to have a little bit of experience with TypeScript and React. So I'm going to just try to put everything together and explain the things that are a little bit complex. So here, if we go back to the page.tsx, or the header, sorry. So here, to be able to actually render this, so those are the prompts that are provided in the navbar2 component. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to get rid from this name, and also I'm going to, in the logo property, I'm going to call the app logo component that we just created. And also another thing that I'm going to do to be able to get rid from this part. So as you can see, we have our logo and also the name that is updated successfully. So to be able to get rid from this section, so all we have to do, so we're going to use the navigation menu, and I'm going to just pass in empty area. So if I save the file, so as you can see, this has been gone. So the only thing that I'm going to do here, I'm going to change the name, login, and register. So here in the login property, as you can see, so we have this is linked to the session. So this is coming from the auth. So we're going to get this into this later on. So to be able to access to the button related to register, so this is the object of it. And here, so we have the text, and the text also is an object. I think that is an object, or I think it is a string. So yes, it is a string. And here I'm going to change the name of it to a new account and save the file. So we should see the new name and the button. So those are the little changes and updates that I did to be able to actually update the navbar. So as you can see, pretty straightforward, and you saved a lot of time by doing this rather than try to create and every time this component by yourself. Especially when projects gets complex, you need to have something like this to save a lot of time. So the next section that I'm going to add is the hero section, of course, after the navbar. And again, if we go back to ballstack.dev, so we're going to use this component in the hero section page. So this is the components that we're going to be using. So we have the code if we want to look at the code before you use it. And also we have the doc section if we want to know how to use it. So, and also we have the ability to download the component just to make things very easy to do. So inside the task pulse app and components folder, just to make sure that all of the reusable components are inside one folder. So, and also another advantage if you do this, so you're going to make your whole project organized rather than having components they are scattered all over the project. So let's add the component in this folder. So the file has been saved successfully. So the thing that we're going to be doing here, so let's go back to the VS Code in the hero section here. So one thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid from this variable. And also what I'm going to do, I'm going to just paste the code from the clear task project just to save time. So I'm going to save the file here. I'm going to call the component that I just added. And here, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new variable called dashboard URL. So this is the URL that we're going to be using in the push. And also so what I need is to use the use I think called use router. So I'm going to use the router hook from Next.js to access to the push method. And there you go. The error has gone successfully. So let me get from this imports. And I think that all we need to do. So the only thing that I'm going to comment is the image placeholder. So we're going to add this later on in the video. So once I'm done with this, because this component is called from the page.tsx, so we should see our new component if we go back to the landing page. So as you can see, this is our component ready to be used, easy to set up, and the most important thing, it was quick. So this is going to be a lot it's going to be a time saver, especially when I'm building a landing page. So I know a lot of people will use AI, but it's not something like you build by yourself. You have more control over the component that you are building. So this is our landing page. So we have the nav bar and also we have the landing page, the hero section. Now we're going to move on to the feature section. So to add the feature section, so we're gonna follow the same steps or the same path. So let's go back to ballstack.dev and we're gonna go uh, to the feature section page. So this is the one that we are going to go into. And so this is the component that we're going to be using. So let's download this component and we're going to save it inside the components folder. So the file has been saved successfully. So what I'm going to do here in the page.tsx, go to the features section component. So what I'm going to do here, so I'm going to get rid from this. And so I'm going to copy the code. And so let's put this component inside the main tag. And I'm going to call this component that we just saved inside the components folder. And also I'm going to call this icon from React icons. And also I'm going to call all of these icons that we're using inside each card. So this array is used to be rendered in each card. And the final thing that I'm gonna be doing is to import the feature section 2 card type from the component just for type safety. So the last thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna to save a bit of time because I'm a little bit lazy uh, to type stuff in. I'm gonna paste the component and here you go. So we have our full component inside the feature section. So if we go back to our landing page, we should see the update. So this is the update as you can see for the feature section, which was very quick and simple and clean. And also one thing that I didn't mention, so everything is responsive from the start because I made the components ready to be responsive. So you don't have to go in the component and change things yourself to make things easier. So now, so the only thing that left the testimonials and the hero section. So first we're going to attack the testimonials section. Again, to be able to add the testimonials section, let's go back to bolstack.dev and we are going to access to the testimonials. So we're going to click on this and this is the component, or let's use this one that I used in the finished project. So let's download this component, put it inside the components folder. And what I'm going to do here, let's go back to our project and inside the homepage components, I'm going to create a new folder here just to make things organized. And I'm going to call it testimonials section. And so let's create inside of it a new file called testimonials section.tsx. So I'm going to create an empty functional component. So let's rename this testimonials section here. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to call the testimonial for component. So I'm not going to change anything inside the prompts because this component also provides many prompts to be able to update the components. So we're going to stick with the fake data that we're using inside the component, the testimonials for component. So here, so these are the data structure that we are using for this. So we're going to stick with this. And finally, I'm going to call the testimonials section component in the page.tsx under the feature section. So let's do this. Testimonials section. Let's save the file. So if we go back to our landing page, so we should see our testimonials has been rendered successfully in the landing page. And finally, we have the footer section that we are gonna add next. So to be able to add the footer section, so now if we go at the bottom, so we have a different design of the footer section. So let's go to the component that we're going to be using. Again, we're going to go to the testimonials or the or to the footer section. So let's type in here footer because sometimes I get overwhelmed because we have a lot of components. So I provided this search dialog to be able to access to use it as a shortcut to access to the component that we want. So here we have currently we have 4 footers. So we're going to be using this one. So let's download it inside the components folder and let's go back to our project. We're going to go to this file. So let's get rid from this and also let's get rid from this. And I'm going to paste the component to save a little bit of time. So let's call the component that we just saved like this one. And also let's call the icon. And also I'm gonna change the text, which is the name of the project. So here, as you can see, so those are all the prompts that this component provides. So the stat text, we're gonna make it as hidden because inside this object we have also the text. But since we're gonna make it as hidden, we're not gonna use this property because it is an optional one. We have the copyright text, we have the secondary button, which is going to make as hidden because here, as you can see, we have two buttons. And if we go back to our landing page, we have one button. So as you can see, the component has been updated successfully. So to make it hidden, when I was engineering the components, so I made sure that the user can just access to the class name of the button just from the prompt. So we have the primary button, the text is going to be start today, and the href it's going to be dashboard, the footer nav links. So I made this as an empty array just to make this part or this place empty. And finally, we have the hidden. So the text can be also a React node. So that's why we can be able to add HTML tags. And also we have the logo text with the icon property and the website name, which is this part. So as you can see, we've been able to build this landing page very quickly and neatly, and also it is responsive. So this is why this website I'm providing, it's a game changer, I think, just for me, because this is what I'm doing in my YouTube channel. I'm building projects which is going to help me to save a lot of time and create a lot of projects down the road. So now we created successfully our landing page. So once we've done this successfully, now we're going to move on to the dashboard page. So after we created our landing page, so we're gonna start working on the dashboard. But first of all, we want to do something temporarily to temporarily ignore a problem that is related to next auth. So for example, if we go to the dashboard route like this, so we're going to have a callback URL that's going to point out to the login page since we're using NextAuth and it uses a middleware. So to temporarily turn this off until we start working on the backend, so in the middleware.ts, so I'm going to increment this route, the protected route by NextAuth. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to restart the server npm run div. And so after this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to re access to the dashboard route, and we should not be pointed back to the callback URL. So now, as you can see, the dashboard route has been rendered successfully because now it is not protected by NextAuth. So we can work on the dashboard. So once the dashboard has been completed successfully, then when we start working on the backend, so I'm gonna uncomment this, and this route is gonna be protected again by NextAuth. So now we're going to start building our dashboard page. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to uh, uh, clean the code inside the dashboard route. So we're going to get rid from this temporarily. And so let's get from this and also this functional component. And so let's add something here just to make sure that everything is working. So if we go back here, as you can see, we have our test word has been rendered successfully. So this is where we're going to put all the reusable components that are related to the dashboard, like the stat cards and the task list card and the navbar, of course. So let's get rid from this. And now we're gonna add our first component, which is the navbar. So here, if we access to the dashboard in our finished project, so let's do this again just to see, like in parallel, what we're doing with the project that we're building and the project that we already built. So this is the navbar. So again, we're going to go back to ballstack.dev just to make sure that everything is easy to set up and quick. So in the dashboard section here, in the navbar, so we're going to be using this component. So this component is kind of adaptable. So I made it to be adaptable to a lot of circumstances. And so that's what makes this component reusable. So let's add this in the components folder. And I'm going to call it here navbar. And so let's add the dashboard word just to note that this component is for the dashboard, not for the landing page, and save the file. So now what I'm going to do inside the dashboard folder, so I'm going to create a new folder just to make sure that everything is organized, and I'm going to add here the name navbar dashboard, and in here, so I'm going to create a new file called dashboard with the same name of the folder, navbar dashboard dot sorry dot tsx. So let's create a boilerplate functional component nav bar dashboard like this. And what we're going to do, we're going to call this component that we just added, and the name of this component is called dashboard navbar1, and this is what I'm going to do here, dashboard navbar1, and also I'm going to make this component as a client. So that's why we put this component in another separate component. So because we're gonna add so many things in the navbar, so we don't want to have all the code like in one place, like the page.tsx, which is gonna make things a little bit awkward. So that's why we create this component, and we're gonna do the same thing for the other component, like the statistic cards and the task list table. So now we are going to call this navbar dashboard inside the page.tsx navbar dashboard like this, and we should see our navbar at the top. So let's reload the page. So as you can see, this is our navbar. As I said, we're going to do many changes and updates by using the prompts that this component provides, so can make sure that it's gonna look like this. So this is our next step. So let's start building or changing the navbar of the dashboard. So what we're gonna do here, uh, so the first thing that I'm gonna do, so I'm going to add, or I'm gonna paste uh, this class name. So this class name is going to add a little bit of padding at the left, at the right, and at the left. The width is going to be full, and the height is going to be 100 viewport. And also I'm going to add a new div here, and I'm going to add inside of it this component, and I'm going to add a little bit of margin at the bottom. So that's the first thing. So if we go back here, so as you can see, so all of the changes has been updated successfully. So So now we're gonna start like updating what's inside the navbar dashboard, and we're gonna work with some of the prompts that we're having in the dashboard navbar one component. Again, to save some time, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna paste this code here. So, and I'm going to call this app logo component that we added in the landing page. And also I'm going to uncomment this, and I'm going to called the mode toggle component, which is the component provided by shadcn to switch between dark and light mode. So I'm going to explain very quickly what this code is. So those are the prompts that the dashboard navbar one component provides that we took from ballstack.dev. So we have this avatar area prop, which is an object that has all of these properties. So these are just temporarily, but when we start working on making this functionable with next auth and working on the backend, some of the things are going to be changing. Of course, we have the show search bar, we turn it to false. So we add a little bit of class name here. So the border is none, and the padding at the top and the bottom. So we add 40 pixels, and the button, it's going to have it has the text property, which is the add task. So the icon buttons, so it's an area of React nodes, so we're going to add this one. And finally, the left section, it's going to be app logo. So if we go to our dashboard, so as you can see, so this is the new look of our dashboard. So this is why it's very helpful to use reusable components to save a lot of time. Think about like creating this from scratch every time that I want to create a new project, which is a waste of time. So this is why, or the goal, I'm doing this, not for myself, but also for other developers to save a bit of time in the process of building their projects. So as you can see, this is our nav bar ready to be used, and we have the light and the dark mode. So as I said, of course, some of the things are going to be added in the nav bar. And so the next thing that I'm going to add is as we saw here, so we have this gear drop down. So let me add a new task here to be able to access to this. So now we can access to this drop down, and this is what we're going to be doing. So of course, nothing's going to happen when I click on this because we need to work on other things in our application to make this available. So for example, here, if I do uh, this, for example, so let's click on the logout. So I'm going to have selected logout. So this is what we are doing here, because it's going to call this callback function called onSelect, and it's going to just log out, sign out clicked. As I said, later on, this it's going to be updated. So now let's add this drop down, and to be able to do so, because I'm providing a prompt called uh, sorry to do so, because I'm providing so we're gonna create a new component that returns a drop down, and we're gonna be adding inside the icon buttons area. So let's do this. So now let's add this drop down. The first thing that I'm gonna do inside the navbar dashboard folder. So I'm gonna create a new file called tasks options .tsx like this, and I'm gonna paste the whole component, and I'm gonna explain as much as I can this code. So this is the code of the whole component, and to be able to use this component, so we're going to call it from the array icon buttons. So this is what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna call this component task options, and it has some prompts. That's why we have this error. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create. So first, let's mark this as a client component because I'm going to use the use state hook from React, and I'm going to create these states. So I'm going to call this open task options and set open task options. And let's add the use state and set it as false, and then assign these two variables to these callbacks. So we have open task options like this, open task options, and then I'm going to add its setter. So the same way that I did for the open task options variable. And also I need to add a key task options for the ESLint. And so if I go back to the variable, so we have error in here. So let's reload the page. Probably I need to put this as a client component. So that's why I have this error, because in here also we using the use state hook and the use effect. So let's go back to our page and let's reload the page, and we should the problem should fix as you see right now. And if I click on here, as you can see, so this is the drop down that I used. So if we go back to the code, so I'm going to try to explain the whole code. So here we have the task options array, and we mark it as const because we want to access to the label with TypeScript for each element and the tasks option. And then at the top of the function, we have the prompts of the task options, like I showed you when we used it. When we used it down here. So these prompts are the ones that we have at the top, and these are their types, and also disable pop over. So I set it as false, and the reason why I did this because if we go back to our finished project and let's delete this project. So if there is no task, so as you can see, this it's going to be disabled. So later on, when we start working with tasks, it depends on the length of the tasks. So if there is zero, disable pop over, it's going to be true. So this by default, it's going to be, so it is already set by to false, but I added in here just to understand why we use this prompt. So here also we have the select option. So this is a promise. So it's a callback function that we're going to be using later on. So if I do this, and so it's accept by default option. And so let's open up this arrow function. And because it is a promise, it needs to be async. And notice that the option, because we use the array as const, we can be able to access as string literals to the labels just for type safety. So for example, if I do this, if I log the option here, so let me go back to the application, and when I click on here. So as you can see, we can be able to log out the element that we clicked on. So that's why I added this callback function later on when we work with the data to be able to update the data once we click on the selected option. And as I said, this it's going to be type safe. So when we use the switch method, so we're not gonna like have any error. So let's go back to the array. So we have the selected label to be able to save internally the label that we clicked on. The use effect is going to help us to call the selected option callback function. And here we have the return GSX. So we're going to use the popover and the command components. So these are the shadcn components. So you can look them up in the shadcn if you want to get more information. But I'm trying to explain very quickly what's inside in here. So that's why I said at the beginning you need to have a little bit of experience in the web development, because in this project I'm not going to explain everything. Otherwise it's going to be a 10 hours project. So I'm trying to create a system, to know how to create a system that works and scalable for any application. So here we're going to use the tasks option array, and for each option we're going to use the command item. And here we have the value, the key, the onSelect. So this is going to help us to update the selected label, which is the internal state. And here we have the icon and the label. So this is what this functional component is. And as you can see, everything is working fine. So now we're going to start working on this part, which is the statistic cards. So the first thing that we're going to do to add these cards, again, we're going to go back to ballstack.dev and now and go to the dashboard section and go to the statistic cards. So those are these are the statistics available for now, and the one that we're going to be using is this one. So we can let's download this component inside the components folder, and let's go back to our project. So the first thing that I'm going to do here, as I did for the navbar and the dashboard route, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this statistics uh, cards, and I'm going to create a new file, stat cards. So let's create a boilerplate component. I'm going to rename the component statistic cards. And here, so if we go to the components folder, so this is the components that we're going to be calling, and the name of the component is called stat cards. So we're going to call it from this new functional component, stat cards. And we're going to call this component inside the page.tsx that renders the dashboard route. So we're going to put it under the navbar dashboard. So this is the component statistic cards, and we should see our component if we go back to our project. So this is the component because it has some data inside the component, just to be able to show how it looks like. So to be able to fix this, or first we are going to add the, so if we go to the component, so as you can see, we have many prompts that we're going to be using. And as you can see, we have the cards prompt. So we can be able to add some cards externally. And this is what we are going to do. So I'm going to copy the the array. So this is the array that we're going to be using. And first I need to call the icons from React icon or icons library. So the last one is the chart pie. And then I'm going to call this cards array. Also, the next prompt that I'm going to be doing is for the columns, I'm going to set it to 4. So if we go back, so as you can see, we have our uh, our array, or sorry, our cards in here. And also another thing that we're going to be doing is to get rid from the from these, and also I'm providing a prompt to be able to do so, show metric delta, and I'm going to set it to false, and these should be hidden. And also another thing that I'm going to do in the class name or prompt that it is linked to each card called card class name. So I provided this prompt so you can be able to change the style of all the cards by using this card class name. So I'm gonna get rid from the shadow. So I'm gonna set it to null. So as you can see, the shadow is not in the cards. And also I'm going to add a bit of margin at the top just to have a little bit of space between the navbar and the cards. So I think I'm going to add more margins at the top. So let's set it to 14. So there you go. So we have more space between the navbar and the cards. So, so this is how we set our cards. Of course, later on, we're going to work on other things to make this reactive to the data when we start using the data in the task list table, which is a full component that we're going to be using from Stack as I'm going to show you. So now we're going to work on this part. So this is what we are going to be doing. And luckily I created a full component that has all the features that needed, like the search, the filter, and also the stats. Also the cards. So the first thing that we're going to be doing, so inside Stack, we're going to go to the inside or in the dashboard section again and the data table. So this is the component that we're going to be using. So as I said, so this component handles everything, handles the drag and drop. And also, as you can see, we have a skeleton, simulating the change or the delay in the database. Also, we have the ability to set the task as completed. We have the search, and also we have the filters by progress and by status, and also it is fully responsive, as you can see. So this component, it's going to save you a lot of time, and the best part, it is reusable, so you can use it in other projects, which is going to be a time saver rather than try to create the same system all every time that you want to create something like this. So the first thing that I'm going to do, like I did for the other components, so I'm going to download this, and I'm going to download it inside the components folder. So let's save the file. And if we go to the components folder, so this is the file, and we are going to see first the name of the component. So the name of it is tasks list table. And also because when we use the Next.js boilerplate generator, because in the package.json we have all the libraries like the DND has been installed successfully, so you don't have to go to npm and install all the necessary dependencies that are related to DND kit. So this is the advantage why I created the Next.js boilerplate generator. So as you can see, we have this component ready to use, type safe, scalable and um, highly organized. So let's close this, and as we did for the other components, I'm going to create a new folder here inside the dashboard folder, and I'm going to call this task list. So I'm going to use the underscore uh, task list table, and I'm going to create a new file. So let's call it task list table with the same name of the folder. I'm going to create a new component. So let's recall the functional component. So let's just call it the task table. And I'm going to call the component that we just created or added inside the components folder. Sorry guys. So this is the component. So this component has many prompts that we're going to be using. So also, I'm going to paste this class name that has the padding at the top and also a little bit of margin at the bottom. And finally, so let's rename this task list section. I'm going to call this in the page.jsx of the dashboard route task list section. So we should see our component underneath the page. So as you can see, so this is the same component that I showed you in here. So notice that you don't have to actually do anything inside the component because everything is working as expected. And so this is going to be a time saver, to be honest with you. Like trying to create this because it took me for about 3 days to create this component, testing out and working on the edge cases and all of this, especially when I added the drag and drop, which complicated a little bit the system. And also to think about all the scenarios that a developer may encounter when using this component. So now, as you can see, everything is working fine. So the only thing that I'm going to do is to use the prompts of this component, and we're going to start. So the first thing that we're going to start is by using the tasks data prompt. I'm going to paste the data array. So this is the array that we're going to be using. And I'm going to call the task type from the components or from the component that we just added inside the components folder. So to make sure that it's going to comply to the type that we created from the component, just to make sure that this is type safe. And now I can add this tasks data to the prompt tasks data. And of course, when we start working with the database, so we're gonna use Zustand as a state manager to make sure that this is going to be available by all the components existing inside the project. So now if I go back, so as you can see, the data changed inside the component because we used the tasks data that we created externally from the component. And also another, just to show you very quickly, like when we have the on-click title. So this, as you can see, the signature is uh, is a is a function that has the task as an argument of type task. So if I do this, so I'm going to add the task as an argument, and what I'm going to do here, I'm going to log the task that I clicked. So I want to make sure that you are using some callback functions so the developer can use in the parent component, because we are going to actually have a relationship with the database or state management. So we're going to make sure to do this when you are structuring your reusable component. So if we go back in here, and if I click, so let's clear that out. And if I click on this task, so as you can see, I can access to the whole object. And for example, when we add the dialog, so we are going to add a new state called selected task. We are going to update it and use it to be able to update the task inside the dialog as I'm going to show you. So I'm gonna paste this code, and these are the available props of the task list table to be able to interact with the data inside the component. So we have the on delete task clicked, which is going to be triggered whenever we click on the delete button. So if I click on this button, so as you can see, we have a delay. So this delay, because this function or callback function is an async function, is a promise. So I did this because we are going to interact with the database, and so the database, it takes a delay. So when sending the request and getting back the response, so it's going to take a little bit of time, and you're going to make sure that this function is async. And also the same thing on the task edit clicked. So this, it's going to be so it is linked to this button. And also we have the on copy task clicked. So this is going to return the new version of tasks array to notify the parent component, and also to use it to update our data inside the database. And also we have the unupdated tasks also to return the tasks array or the new updated tasks array. So for example, if I check one of the tasks, so as you can see, we have this in the console log at the 83 line, which is this one, because this has been triggered. And this one is linked to the check-in, and also to the when I copy the task. So these are the props that we're going to be using to be able to interact with the database. So I made sure to design all of these callbacks so we can be able to interact with our data, and also to change them successfully. So now, as you can see, we created very quickly and smoothly all the elements, necessary elements that are related to our dashboard UI. So the next thing that we're going to be doing is adding the dialog to be able to add the new task, which is this one. So this is what we are going to be working on in the next part. So to add our dialog, again, we're going to go back to ballstack.dev, because also for the dialog, I'm providing a reusable component for this. So go to the dialogs inside the dashboard section. And this is the dialog that we are going to be using. So I created also the one for icons and the one for the doc search. So just for info, so this is what I'm using at the top in here. So not only I created the reusable components to be reused by others, but I created first by myself to make things easier when creating projects, and I make them available to the public from this website. So again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to download it inside the components folder. And so this file has been downloaded successfully. So we're going to go to the dashboard route inside the page.tsx. And what I'm going to do here, because this is the parent component of all the components that we created, the navbar, the statistic cards, and the task list section, to make sure that this is available for all the components. So here at the top, I'm going to call the dialog one component. So this component also has many prompts that we're going to be using to make sure that it is functionable, but just to make it available to us to work with, because we need to create a Zustand store so we can manage this state. We need to create a state called open dialog and create it in a Zustand store so it can be available from other components to avoid using to be in a position to use the prop drill. So if we go back to our website, so we should see our dialog. So this is how it looks like when we use it first. So we are going to update all the information related to the dialog, the icon, the name of the dialog, the description, also the buttons, but also mainly we're going to be using the elements inside, or the fields inside the dialog from in the prompts. So this is the prompts that we're going to be using here, which is called the components, which is an area of React nodes. So as I'm going to show you, so this is going to be rendered between the header and um, the footer. So we're going to create our first field, which is the dialog title. So if we go back to our finished project, so this is the component, how it looks like, and this is what we are going to create. So here in the dashboard folder, I'm going to create a new folder. So this one is going to be called task dialog fields, and I'm going to create a new file called title inputs.tsx. So I'm going to create an empty boilerplate functional component. So, and what I'm going to do here, I'm going to just paste the code. So I'm going to call the label tag from shadcn, but also the input as well from shadcn, and export the component. So if we go back to the page.tsx, inside the components prompt of the dialog1 component, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to call the title input that we just created, like this. So we need to have a key for ESLint title input. So if we go back to our dialog, so let's reload the page to re-render our component. So as you can see, this is the component. So we have the label, the input, and this is where we're going to put the error when we start working with React hook form and Zod library. And now we're going to be using or adding the next one, which is the task status. So the first thing that I'm going to do, like I did for the input inside this folder, so I'm going to create a new file called task status drop down.tsx. And to save time, I'm going to paste the whole code in here. And so I'm going to explain very quickly what's inside this component. So as I did for the title input, so I'm going to add it next to it. And I'm going to call the component called status dropdown. And I need to add a key status dropdown. So if we go back to our project, so as you can see, so this is the component that I just added. So let's go back to the component itself just to show you very quickly how it is working. So first we have this status options as a constant. So it is going to be an array of type task status. So this type is provided from this data table to component that we just added from both stack. And also we have the value to be able to store the element that we clicked in the dropdown. And also this function is provided from this component, which has the styling element organized this way, depending on the status. So if it is in progress, we're going to use all of these elements or properties. Otherwise, if it is completed, we're going to use all of these properties. So that's why if we go back to our component, we're going to destructure this to access to these elements that we're going to be using in our GSX. So this is the label, and these are the drop-down components from shadcn. So we have inside the drop-down menu trigger, this is the button that we are using. So we're using the badge, and also we're using the icon. So this is what has been triggered like in here. So depending on the selected value, we are going to render it in here. So this is what's inside the drop-down menu trigger. And here we have inside the drop-down menu content, which renders the elements inside, which is the drop-down itself, the elements inside the functional component when we open it up. So this is what has been rendered. So we have the batch, and also we have the text color variable inside the class name. So that's why we use the string literals to access to it. So depending on what we selected, we are going to choose what's inside the text color variable. We have the icon, we have the status, and also depending on the value state, we are going to add the check icon, and the class name, it's going to be the text color. And finally, we have, depending on whether this is true, we're going to show the drop-down menu separator. So this is, in a nutshell, what is this component is like and how it is structured. And finally, we have this component, which is the task priority. So it's going to be the same structure as the component that we created inside this task status, but the information, only the information, it's going to be updated. And this is what I'm going to do now. So let's go back to our code, and inside the same folder, we're going to create a new file. So we're going to call it task list priority.tsx, and I'm going to paste the whole code. So as you can see, it is pretty much the same structure as the task list status dropdown. So I need to add the export default to be able to use it from the dashboard component. So let's go back to our file. So as I said, it is pretty much the same structure. So the only thing that is different is the data. So sorry, let me go back to this file. So as I said, the only difference is the data. So we have the priority options. So we have the low and the medium and high. So, and also we're going to use the value as a state to store what we clicked on. And also we have this function. So this function works the same as the function that I showed you in here, which is this one, but it is different because we have three properties: low, medium, and high, and also we have different colors and settings. So that's why I created it in another function. So finally, to be able to use this, we're going to do the same thing that we did for the other components inside this, inside the page.jsx of the dashboard route. And I'm going to call priority dropdown, and the key, it's going to be priority dropdown. So I save the file and I go back to our project. So we have an error because I think this should be a client component. So it is a client component. So let me go back and re-render the whole page. So as you can see, everything is working fine. We have all the necessary elements to be able to interact with the data in our application. And we're going to keep like working on this dialog and updating it just to look like this one. So we're going to keep working on this dialog. And notice we have this button at the top. So this button is related to the components, the dialog component. So if we go to the dialog one component, like in the GSX, so in here we have the dialog trigger, and we can be able to hide it by using the hide trigger prompt. So let me close this, and so this is the prompt that we're going to be using, hide trigger, and I'm going to set it to true. So if I do this, as you can see, the trigger has been hidden and the open button is not visible. And also, to save a bit of time, I'm going to paste the remaining props of the component. So this is the remaining props of this component. So we have the layout as grid and also the dialog description. So I commented this because I need to create these states. So I'm going to do this just temporarily because these need to be in a Zustand component. So the selected task here, I'm using this turning operator. So the dialog, it's gonna depend on it to whether we are going to show edit task or add task. So this is the logic. So if I create this selected task and set selected task and the use state. So inside the use state, I'm gonna assert it as a type of task or null. And by default, it's going to be null. And also, I'm going to create another variable called the open dialog. So let me copy this and open dialog. And let's recall this, set open dialog. And I'm gonna set it as false, and Typescript will infer it automatically to Boolean. And so the open, it's gonna be linked to the open prompt, and I'm gonna set it to true just to make it available in the UI. So now we don't have any error. So basically, Here we have the primary button as well. That's going to be changed based on the selected task. So if it is null, it's going to be a new task. Otherwise, it's going to be edit task. So this is the description. And the open change is going to be triggered, which is a callback function. When the dialog is closed, we're going to set it to false and the set selected task as null. So if we go back to our component, as you can see, we have the add task, we have the description and the new task. So since this is as null, so we're going to have add task. But if, for example, if we go to the task list, so let's go to the task list, and I'm going to copy this object which conform to the task type. And if we go to the dashboard again, the page.tsx, and so I'm gonna put this in here. So notice that we don't have any error because this complies to the task structure. So now if I go back to the dialog, as you can see, I have the edit task because now this is not null. So this is the logic that we're going to be using to know whether we're going to edit a task or not. So now we completed our our dialog and ready to be used. So the only thing that we need to do is to add React hook form and Zod for this dialog. Before we start implementing the Zod schema and React hook form for the form, so one last element that I need to add in the UI of our application is the confirmation dialog. So here, if we go uh, to the complete task, so let's access to the dashboard. And so this is the dialog that we want to add. So this one to be able to delete one task, and also it is the same dialog that we're going to be using to delete all the tasks. So first we're going to go back to ballstack.dev where we got most of our components for building the application. So we're going to go to the dashboard section in the blocks page, and we're going to go to the alert dialog. So this is the component that we are going to be using. So we're going to download this to our components folder and save this file. And also you can see the docs, how to use some examples, how to use this. And so once we downloaded the application, so we're going to go to the page.tsx of the dashboard route, and we are going to use this from the parent component of all the other components like the navbar, the statistic cards, and the task list section. And so this can be accessible from other components as well. So that's very important. And then we're going to call the component. And so I'm going to set this false to be able to hide and close the open dialog. So if we go back to the application, so we set that as false. And also later on, we're going to use Zustand. We're going to make this as in a by using the Zustand as a state management to be able to access to these variables from any components that we want inside the project. So now from this component, so we have many prompts available, and I'm gonna use this one just to show you. Open this up to after setting this true. So this is the default elements inside the dialog. Of course, we're gonna use the prompts available by this component to customize it. First, I'm going to create a new variable called open confirmation dialog, and I'm going to create its setter confirmation dialog and use state false. And the next thing I'm going to add an object for the text and the description. So I'm going to paste the object. So this is the object that we're going to be using. So we have the title as a property and sub-properties, single task and all tasks. So the same for the description. So because we're going to use the same dialog for deleting one single task, but also we're gonna use it for deleting all tasks. So the information that we're gonna show in the dialog, it's going to be different. So I'm talking about the title, and also I'm talking about the description. So after this, I'm gonna paste this code. Uh, And so this is the code that we're going to be using for all the prompts of the confirmation dialog components. So what I'm going to do here, so I'm going to get rid from this first. And here, this is where we're going to be using the title prop and the title description, because the title prop is an object that has the text property, and we're going to base on the single or bulk tasks state that we're going to use whether it's a single, whether we're going to delete a single task or not. So the same thing that we're going to be doing for the description. So the reason why we have an error, because I pasted the code from the project, so we need to create an object called single or bulk tasks. So this is what I'm going to do, and I'm gonna create its setter like this, and I'm gonna create inside the use state. First, I'm gonna assert this as a union type, single or bulk, and by default it's gonna be single. So I'm gonna change the name of the properties, and finally I'm gonna put this in the is open. So I need to get rid from this because the is open property or prop has been duplicated. So this is how we are going to use the confirmation dialog text. And next I'm going to paste this code. And this is part of the confirmation button. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new state called is task deletion loading. So we're going to use this state to be able to show the loading spinner. Set single delete loading, then create a use state as false, and I'm gonna change this. Then I'm gonna import the toast object from the component. So, and after this, so let me change the name of the setter, and also the same for this one, and the same for this one. So the only thing that I'm gonna create, so I'm gonna create uh, empty functions with the name just to get rid from this error because we are going to add the code that is related to this. So this is going to be an async function. And also I need to create another empty uh, function. So let's update the name and get rid from this parameter. So as you can see, everything. So we got rid from the error, but we need to add all the related code that is related to the function delete or the delete all tasks. So the next step, we're going to use Zustand as a state management, where we are going to use the open confirmation dialog and also the selected task. And also later on, we are going to add other states. So to make these states available for any component in our project. So to do so, what I'm going to do here inside the dashboard um, folder, I'm going to create a new folder, so called stores, and then I'm going to create a new file called use open confirmation dialog.ts. Then I'm going to paste the code. And so this is the actual store. So I'm going to explain this very quickly. So we are going to, so this is the name of the store, and we're going to use this create function or method from Zustand, and we're going to pass this type confirmation store dialog. So this will give to Zustand the context to our store just to make it type safe. So this type is going to have two properties: open dialog confirmation of type Boolean and set open dialog confirmation of this signature, which is a function that accepts open as a parameter of type Boolean. And this is how we're going to be, this is how any Zustand store is used to set a value or a default value to the state that we created in our type open dialog confirmation. It's going to be false as default, and this is so when we call the set open dialog confirmation, we're gonna actually use this parameter and set it to this open dialog confirmation by using the set method that is provided by Zustand inside the create method. So once we created our Zustand stored, we're going to go back to page.tsx, and then we're going to call this store by doing this and using use dialog confirmation store. So we're going to deconstruct or destructure this method to be able to access to the state like this, and I'm going to get rid from this, and then I'm going to use the open dialog confirmation here, and then I'm going to use the set confirmation dialog. And also, sorry, I'm gonna do this for not for the dialog one, but for the confirmation dialog. So open dialog confirmation. So I'm gonna assign it to is open, and then I'm gonna use this the sitter, and I'm gonna replace it by this one and this one and this one. So now what I'm gonna do, so So we have this error, probably because I didn't save the file. So let me save the file. And again, let's go back to our project and the error is gone. So now what I want is I want to click on this button, or I want to click on this button to be able to open up this dialog. So to be able to do so, let's go back to our page.tsx, and then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to the uh, I'm gonna go to the statistic or the navbar dashboard, and in here, so what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna use the switch method, and so we're gonna rely on the option, and here I'm gonna select the delete all tasks property. So this is why we used the option array that we used as a constant, so to be able to access to the options as a union type. So once we click on the deleted all tasks, so it's going to trigger something. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to call use confirmation dialog confirmation store, and I'm going to access to the set open dialog confirmation. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to set it to true to be able to open up the dialog. So if I go back to our application and click on delete all tasks,